So today I wanted to talk to you about your audience or audiences. When we go right back to the beginning of thinking about making a design system, it's not in a vacuum. It's not for us necessarily. Very often it's for other designers and developers to consume. So that might be that you create a library in your design tool and other designers will pull that in and use aspects of your library in their work. And likewise, as a developer, you might have a library of components that you would pull in and import into your projects. So these are like the consumers, the subscribers to your design system. They're not the only audience. And so it's trying to be quite clear on these audiences are incredibly important. And so first looking at them, it's trying to get an understanding of what do they want from you? What do they want from the design system? How can you help empower them? And what is their experience like? So as a designer, if you go to your design tool of choice and pull out a component, does it do what you expect? Does it behave in a way that's easy to work with? Are you clear on the naming? Do you know where to find it when there's quite a lot of components? Over in the code side, do you know where to import it from? Whatever the component is you might need. Does it have quite predictable set of props or arguments? Does it make sense the way that you import it and use it in your project? Does it actually help you to do the piece of work that you need to do? So the designer experience and developer experience are really, really important. And we can't suppose as a design system team that we know what's going to work for everyone. So we have to be really clear on that relationship of we can make some initial choices, especially if we're starting small and scrappy, but then keep listening to that particular audience and saying, is this working well enough for you? Did it do what you expected it to? And we keep improving that and keep learning. So certainly in my experience, the last design system I worked on was React using TypeScript. And so when I imported components, it was quite predictable. You'd get that suggest of what props it was expecting and what kind of format, which was really, really handy. You might not get that in everything. So beyond the designers and developers, there's product owners, there's testers, there's content designers, there's all of these other disciplines. In different ways, they're all kind of audiences too. And so each one of them has different concerns, different things that the design system might be able to help with. So before we even release anything, what do these audiences need? What questions might they have about the design system? How could they get involved? How can we listen to their particular kind of feedback from their particular specialisms? And then you've got the more stakeholder, often higher ranking somehow, stakeholders. What are their expectations? As an audience, they probably don't need so much detail. So what kind of feedback might help them to get an idea of what is the design system doing? Is it really adding value? And is there an impact that should be aware of? All of these kind of things. So starting with some basics, you've got a few different audiences already. What I often try and encourage people to do is right at the beginning, this is something I'll talk about later on in another video, there's lots of different kinds of audits you can do, which aren't just visual audits. And one of them would be like an internal comms plan. So when you isolate all the different kinds of audiences, which could even be company-wide at the most broad level. Who are all these different audiences and how might you need to talk to them? What kind of tools do they use? What kind of messaging might work for them? So if we go right back to the design system team or collective, if you don't have a centralized team, how are you going to communicate about things? Outside of that, with the consumers of the design system, what kind of communication or support works for that audience? Going beyond that still, there's people that maybe don't consume directly, but need to work with you and understand it. If you go really, really broad, at the whole company level, maybe they just need to know, when we say design system, this is what we're talking about. And this is where you can find us. So thinking really clearly about, it's not about you. It's not even about your peers working on it. It's for all of these other people. So how can we support them? How can we talk to them in the right way? And more importantly, how can we listen? Because really we're serving them and helping to enable them to do their work as well as they can.